In a crowded luxury restaurant, a billionaire father who hadn't eaten for days suddenly pushed away every dish as guests watched in shock, whispering what kind of invisible fear could break such a powerful man. Waiters froze mid-step as his hands trembled above untouched plates, his eyes hollow and distant, like a man trapped in something money couldn't fix, something far deeper than hunger or physical pain. Before we dive in, let us know in the comments what time is it and where are you watching from. Let's start. Just days earlier, in a public park, the same man sat alone on a cold bench while strangers mocked him quietly, saying even billions couldn't buy peace. And this time, he didn't fight back. His expensive suit couldn't hide the truth anymore as he stared at nothing, hearing every word, feeling every insult, realizing power meant nothing when your own mind turned against you. That same evening, inside his luxury office, he exploded at his staff, shouting over small mistakes as fear spread across the room, revealing a man losing control over everything he once ruled. Files slammed, deals collapsed, and the office that once echoed authority now carried tension and silence, as employees avoided even breathing too loudly around their unpredictable boss. A few days later, inside his grand mansion dining hall, top chefs prepared perfect meals, but every plate returned untouched, as if his body had completely rejected the idea of eating. At the gate, the security guard whispered to another that the boss hadn't eaten properly in days, and even doctors had no explanation, turning a powerful man into a helpless mystery. At the hospital, machines beeped steadily as doctors ran every possible test, yet nothing was wrong physically, leaving them confused why a healthy body refused basic survival. Inside the doctor's cabin, a senior physician spoke carefully, saying this wasn't illness, but buried emotion, something from his past now demanding attention after years of being ignored. The billionaire sat silently, memories flashing back, faces he had forgotten, voices he had dismissed, and one decision that now returned like a shadow he couldn't escape. Meanwhile, in a poor neighborhood filled with narrow streets and broken homes, a young maid searched for work, carrying quiet strength despite a life that had never been easy. Near a small roadside clinic, she helped an elderly woman sit, offering water without hesitation, her kindness simple but powerful, unnoticed by most but defining who she truly was. A few hours later, she arrived at the mansion for a job, unaware that this place held a painful connection to her past, a truth waiting silently to reveal itself. Inside the grand hall, staff judged her simple clothes, exchanging doubtful looks, but the manager allowed her in, desperate for anyone willing to stay in that tense environment. She was hired quickly, not for experience, but because no one else lasted long enough to deal with the silent pressure surrounding the broken billionaire inside that mansion. That night, she entered the dining room and saw him for the first time, weak, distant, staring at food like it no longer belonged to his world or his life anymore. Chefs stood behind nervously while the manager waited for another rejection, expecting the same outcome that had repeated for days without a single sign of change. But everything shifted when she stepped forward calmly, her voice steady, her presence different, as if she saw not a billionaire, but just a man silently asking for help. Inside the silent dining room, she ignored the luxurious dishes and gently prepared a simple bowl, something warm and familiar, as if she understood his struggle without needing any explanation. The billionaire watched her closely, confused by her calmness, as no one had ever acted this way around him, treating him not as power, but as a fragile human being. Without asking permission, she placed the bowl in front of him and stepped back quietly, not forcing, not convincing, just creating a moment that felt strangely safe. For a few long seconds, nothing happened, and the entire room held its breath, expecting another failure in a mansion already filled with disappointment. Then slowly, his fingers moved toward the spoon, trembling as if he was fighting something invisible that had controlled him for days without mercy. The spoon touched the food, and for the first time in days, he took a bite, shocking everyone around him as silence turned into disbelief and quiet relief. The chefs stared at each other, unable to understand how something so simple succeeded where expensive meals and expert care had completely failed. Whispers spread across the mansion that the new maid had done the impossible, breaking a barrier no one else could even reach despite their efforts. That same night, inside his dimly lit bedroom, he sat awake, not in fear, but in realization, as memories returned stronger, louder, and impossible to ignore. Faces from his past appeared clearly, people he had dismissed, moments he had rushed, and choices that now felt heavier than any loss of money. A few years earlier, inside his office, a desperate woman had stood before him asking for help, her voice shaking while he dismissed her without even listening fully. She left quietly, holding back tears, and at that time it meant nothing to him. But now that same moment returned with a painful weight he couldn't escape. Back in the present, the maid continued working silently, never asking for credit, never showing pride, as if helping him was not something extraordinary. The next morning, inside his car, he stared out the window, deep in thought, realizing something about her presence felt familiar in a way he couldn't explain yet. At the mansion gate, he noticed her speaking kindly with the security guard, smiling naturally, treating him with respect, unlike most people in that house. Later that evening, inside the dining room again, he found himself waiting, something he had never done before, as if hoping she would return once more. When she entered, he finally spoke, asking her name with a soft voice, surprising everyone who had only known him as cold and distant. She answered simply and continued her work, not reacting to his tone or attention, keeping the same calm energy that had changed everything before. That night, curiosity pushed him further, and he asked about her past, his voice careful, as if afraid of what he might discover. She paused for a moment, her expression shifting slightly as old memories surfaced, and the atmosphere in the room quietly changed without a single word spoken. Inside the quiet dining room, she finally spoke, revealing her mother once worked for a powerful man who refused to help them during their darkest moment. The billionaire froze instantly, his heartbeat rising, as every word felt familiar, connecting directly to a past he had buried deep inside his memory. She continued calmly, saying her mother never blamed that man, but their life changed completely after that day, pushing them into years of struggle. The room fell silent, and in that moment, the billionaire realized the truth. that the woman standing before him was tied to his own unforgiving decision. His hands began to tremble, guilt rushing through him like a storm, understanding his one cold choice had shaped someone's entire life. That night, inside his bedroom, he couldn't sleep again. But this time, it wasn't emptiness. It was regret tearing through every thought he tried to escape. Memories played repeatedly, her mother's face, her voice, the moment he turned away without care, now returning with unbearable clarity. The next morning, inside the doctor's cabin, he confessed everything, his voice heavy, admitting that the pain inside him wasn't physical at all. The doctor listened quietly and explained that sometimes the mind forces the body to stop when guilt becomes too heavy to carry silently. Meanwhile, back at the mansion, the maid continued her work, unaware that her presence had awakened a truth the billionaire could no longer ignore. A few days later, inside his car, he made a sudden decision, telling the driver to head toward the poor neighborhood she came from. As the car entered narrow, crowded streets, the contrast hit him hard, showing a reality he had ignored his entire life while living in comfort. He stepped out slowly, people staring in confusion as the powerful man walked through unfamiliar paths, searching for something money could never buy. Inside a small clinic, he saw her again, helping patients quietly, the same kindness in her actions, now carrying a meaning he fully understands. She looked surprised to see him there, but remained calm, not reacting to his presence, as if she had nothing to prove and nothing to fear. He spoke softly, apologizing not as a billionaire, but as a man who had finally realized the damage caused by his past actions. The clinic fell silent as people nearby listened, witnessing a rare moment where power bowed down to truth.
If you're happy where you
she looked at him carefully, her eyes holding years of unspoken pain, yet also strength, as she processed the words he struggled to say. After a long pause, she said she never expected an apology, but respected the courage it took for him to stand there and admit that moment didn't erase the past, but it changed something deeply within him, opening a path toward redemption he had never walked before. A few weeks later, back inside the mansion, everything felt different, quieter, but warmer, as the billionaire slowly began rebuilding his life with a new understanding of people. He started treating every staff member with respect, learning names, listening patiently, even greeting the security guard with genuine warmth instead of silent authority. Inside his office, his decisions changed, focusing not only on profit, but also on people, correcting the mistakes that once defined his success.
You don't have to turn around.
At the dining table, meals were no longer untouched, as he ate regularly, each bite carrying the reminder of the lesson he had painfully learned. One evening, he did something unexpected, inviting his staff to sit and eat together, breaking the invisible wall that once separated him from everyone. Laughter slowly returned to the mansion, replacing the cold silence that had once filled every room, bringing life back into a place that felt empty before. Meanwhile, in the same poor neighborhood, he began supporting the small clinic, helping people quietly without seeking attention or recognition. The change wasn't loud or sudden, but real and steady, built through actions that reflected a man who had finally understood the weight of his past. The maid watched everything silently, seeing the difference clearly, not forgetting what happened, but acknowledging the effort to make things right. One day,
don't have
in
to
a
say
public
my
place,
name.
he stood
I'll
among
still
ordinary
hear
people,
you in
no
the
longer
dark.
above them, but as
Even
one
if
of them,
you
sharing
never
the same
notice,
space
I've been
without
with
pride.
you
Those who once mocked him now
the
saw a
start.
different man, not defined by wealth or control, but by the way he treated
If you
others
stumble,
with
if you
quiet
fall,
respect. Inside
if your
his
light
heart, the
begins
heavy
to
burden of
fade,
guilt
I'll be
slowly
right
faded,
there in the
replaced by a
silence,
sense of purpose
making sure
he had
you're
never felt
not
during his years
afraid.
of
You
power.
don't
The journey
have to
had not
look
been easy,
behind.
but it was
I'll
honest.
be there
And for the
just
first
out of
time,
sight.
he felt something
When the
real
world
beyond
gets
control,
way too
beyond
heavy,
money,
I'll be
beyond
holding up your
Back at the
sky.
mansion,
You don't
life
have to
continued
say
with
my
me,
name.
as every
I'll
action
still
now
hear
carried
you
intention,
in the dark.
turning a place of
Even
loneliness
if you
into
never
one.
notice, I've been
The
with
maid
you
eventually prepared to
from
leave,
the start.
moving toward better opportunities. Her
I
role
don't
complete,
need to stand
and the story she
beside
never
you.
tried to
I don't need to
control.
be
He
the
watched her
light.
walk away,
If it means that you
understanding
keep
that sometimes
moving,
simple
I'll
people
just
bring the
stay
biggest
here
into someone's
out
life.
of sight.
That same evening, he sat at the
You
dining
don't
table
have
again,
to look
eating quietly,
behind.
but this
I'll be
time
there
not alone,
just out of
surrounded by a calm
When the
he had
world
never known
gets way
before.
too heavy,
The mansion
I'll
no
be
longer felt
holding
empty,
up your sky.
as if something
You
invisible
don't
had
have to
finally
say my
healed, replacing
name.
years of
I'll
cold
still
silence.
hear you in the dark.
His
Even
journey
if
from
you
power to
never
humility
notice,
became a
I've
story
been
shared
with
by
you
many, reminding
from
everyone that
the
change
start.
is always possible, no matter how late it begins. The story ends here, but its message stays with you. Real strength is fixing what you once broke. If this touched
don't
your
have to turn
heart,
around.
like, subscribe, and come back for more stories.